We are at yet another most exciting step of the baguette making process, the scoring of the baguette. The scoring is best achieved with an old-fashioned tool called a lame. It's in essence a simple thin piece of spring steel, and we are putting in an old-fashioned razor blade that will give us this absolutely exacting cut. Notice how the razor blade is in a curve at this point. Because we put it over the steel, the razor blade is in a curve. This will achieve a very important point. And that is that when cutting a baguette, we are not cutting straight down as one would assume. We're actually holding the blade almost parallel, perhaps 10 degrees off parallel from the surface of the dough. So the cut would be rather like this and not like that. The second important part that is also not visible to the eye and that is only known in artisan circles is that the long cut goes almost parallel to the size of the baguette. So again, not diagonal, as one would assume when one sees a finished baguette often, but the cut is almost in the center third of the baguette, the center third in here, almost parallel to the edge of the baguette. We're starting in the center, flat position of the blade, and we're cutting down 1/3, almost parallel to the side. We're moving up 1/3 of the first cut, slightly to the right, and we're going down for another cut. Up 1/3 of the second cut, and then again over about 1 centimeter, and then down to the very tip of the baguette. This will allow us then to, the baguette will, when they go in the oven, the baguette will unfurl beautifully, almost like a flower on fast forward. As this is really an important cut and it has to be done in precision, I'm going to be quiet as I would be in a real situation. So, last check. The oven is preheated thoroughly at 250 degrees. The baking plate and the steam bar inside preheated with the oven. We have our water at the ready. We are going to move very quickly, but carefully, of course. And quickly we close the oven door. What will happen in the next 5 minutes is that the baguette will, through the transfer of the heat of the baking plate and that immediate steam, will get this beautiful rise, and it happens within the first 5 minutes. That's very critical. We set the timer for 10 minutes. At 250 degrees, and after 10 minutes, or when we notice that the edge, the ridge of that beautifully unfurled baguette becomes dark brown, almost like a coffee roast color, then we turn it back to, or we turn it down to 200 degrees for an additional 10 minutes. That is to ensure that the baguette will be truly crispy and fully baked, so we get this delicate, crunchy baguette that we are looking for. So 10 minutes have passed and our baguettes show a beautiful dark brown color along the ridges. I'm going to reset it for another 10 minutes and we are turning the temperature down to 200 so that our baguettes can get this beautiful thorough crust and the crumb can fully bake as well. Now our 20 minutes are about over, and just to make sure, time and temperature are always a guideline when baking bread, and each oven is slightly different, each batch perhaps is a bit different, so one has guidelines but one still must understand and know when is the bread baked properly. This, of course, you need baker's hands to pull that out. Please wear gloves. The baguette is still a bit blonde. I think we could leave it in for another perhaps 2 minutes to let it finish. One can feel by the crunch, by the hollowness of the tap, and of course at the end of the day by the color. Let's leave them in for another 2 minutes. The moment of truth. Our additional 2 minutes are over and we're going to remove our baguettes with our transfer board. And we are reheating our oven to 250 degrees for the next batch. Now, it's a beautiful golden baguette. The crust at this point is quite firm, almost hard. And what happens during the cooling process, the baguette will release more of the moisture. The crust will become a bit more gentle, and at the final cooling stage the crust will pick up once more a little bit for this beautiful delicate crust. The cuts in the baguette are not only beautiful, they also provide us rigidity, but they also create sort of almost as little chimneys for the moisture to come out on these cuts. This will further ensure that our baguettes are beautiful and crispy. The additional cuts also create additional surface area, which as well is part of the attempt in making these beautiful, delicate, crispy baguettes. I think this is a really successful batch. So these are our second set of 4 baguettes. They have been cooled down and slowed down for that final fermentation in the refrigerator, while the first 4 baguettes were baking nicely in the oven. This is a very practical thing to do if you want to produce a bit more bread for your home, and also to utilize the heat of the oven very efficiently. So we're going to repeat our loading of the baguette onto the transfer board. That's it. Last check. Oven is preheated at 250. We have our water in here. And again, very calmly but swiftly, we are putting our baguettes inside so we don't lose too much heat. Wonderful steam. Always lifts my heart, gets so exciting. And again, 10 minutes at 250 degrees to get our baguettes going. Now our first 10 minutes at 250 degrees are over now, and I'm going to go for a slightly darker and bolder bake. So I'm adding 2 minutes on at 250 degrees. This will give me a slightly darker ridge and what I believe just a more beautiful and rustic baguette. So we have another 15 seconds left at 250 degrees. So we had 10 minutes originally. We added another 2 minutes at 250 for a slightly bolder bake. And I'm going to give it now the remaining 8 minutes for a total of 20 minutes of baking time, at which point then I will assess whether the baguette is done enough. So 8 minutes, 200 degrees for a total of 20 minutes of baking time again, and then we'll assess the doneness of our baguette. So a few more seconds for the completion of the total of 20 minutes. We were trying, or I was trying to get a slightly bolder bake onto these baguettes by increasing the amount of time the baguette spent at 250 degrees. Beautiful two versions, the same batch of baguettes. One got 10 minutes at 250 and an additional 12 minutes at 200, and these had 12 minutes at 250 and 8 minutes at 200 degrees. So they really baked 2 minutes less than these. And obviously I have a theory that a bold bake will give me a moister, juicier baguette, and of course visually definitely more appealing to me, and of course a crust that really is worth its money. And I can hear them sing. I think they're happy. One important thing, of course, is the rack, to ensure that the air can reach the baguette all around and allow for a proper cooling. One doesn't want the baguette to be resting on a table on any hard surface, always on some sort of a screen or elevated, to ensure that the baguettes can breathe really well.